All right, we're back. We have Danny Dumaresque on the line. Danny, I'm going to ask you to hold just for 1 second because I just got a new response from Newfoundland Hydro that was just put out. And it's saying, contrary to the speculation, undertaken by Dumaresque, the quality of the fuel burned at the Holyrood plant over the past year had no impact on the outages experienced at the plant in January of 2013 and January 2014. It goes on. I'm going to skip over. It says, statements made by Danny Dumaresque demonstrate a lack of understanding of the steam-driven turbine units at the Holyrood plant. In this type of plant, the fuel system is used to generate steam in a large furnace, which in turn operates the turbines that drive the generating units. Therefore, issues in the fuel system cannot directly affect the turbines and the electrical generators. What do you have to say to that?
Well, let me tell you, Pete, I am so happy that they came out and said this today. Because let me read from an affidavit, sworn testimony, that the Vice President of Nalcor gave to the Public Utilities Board 3 months ago. Let me tell you what he said. The fuel oil equipment in operation at Holyrood was not designed to use fuel oil with constituents such as aluminum and silicon due to the detrimental effects caused by these constituents such as clogging, higher viscosity of fuel, and decreased flow of fuel oil. He further went on to say the quality of fuel oil deliveries in January and February 2013 caused the strainers to plug with fuel oil such that the Holyrood staff are cleaning the strainers almost daily to prevent insufficient flow to the fuel oil pumps.
Yeah.
A loss of fuel oil supplied to the boiler because of a plug strainer would result in the unit trip and a loss of 175 megawatts of power, and that's precisely what happened last January and again this January.
Okay, now listen, they're not denying that the fuel was a problem and cost additional money. They haven't answered the question yet why they didn't have stipulations in place in the contract so that any poor oil could be returned or compensated for. They went to the PUB to get the money from us, essentially. But he said yesterday, we had the Vice President on, and he said that there is no such thing as a parts per millions, limit on the amount of aluminum or silicon that can be in it, that they would have had no recourse in any case to go back to the supplier or to deny the fuel on that basis.
Of course they would, Pete. They have had to test everybody in the fuel business, test the fuel, and they look out for the particles that are going to impair the integrity of their system. You take a fisherman who would know better than that. He knows whether to put the right fuel in and what will happen to his diesel motor if he puts it in there. These officials are being too cute by half. And I can tell you one thing. This is the first shot. But when they take the stand at the Public Utilities Board and have to answer under oath, I guarantee you that they will not be able to tell me that there was no connection between this dirty fuel and the fact that they spent over $1 million replacing every possible filter and strainer and pump and heat pump that they could find out there to try to remove the cancer that was in the system. They were not successful, and that's not unusual. And as I said to you, the fact is I know that the mechanically the fuel does not go into the generator. But if the generator does not get the energy because the strainers are clogged solid, then that generator will then revert to trying to find the fuel in the base. And once it does that, it will destroy the generator. So yes, there is a moot point there, and these people are being too cute by half, and I certainly will look forward to calling the experts to the Public Utilities Board hearings and have them deny that there is a possibility that this would happen, because right now we have an affidavit from the Vice President of Nalcor that confirms that indeed this would happen, and we would hope that they will also release some of the employees out there at Holyrood, including one of the employees that had a major spraying of fuel oil trying to keep the strainers free from this dirty fuel in 2013, and there's no question that these people will be able to confirm that they had a hell of a mess out there, and it had nothing to do with the Haget equipment. It had everything to do with the integrity of the system being destroyed by the fact that they went out on the open market and got a company from Switzerland to bring fuel without having the very basic test done to confirm that it was full of metals that would destroy the equipment at Holyrood.
Well, that brings up another question, that if there is a test that they can conduct and get response in as little as 8 hours at the point of shipment, then, clearly it would be to determine what components are in the oil. And if they're doing those sorts of tests, then there should be, it seems to me, it only stands to logic, and other jurisdictions would need this as well, that we would have limits on certain things like these metals that we're talking about. It just doesn't seem to ring somehow logical to me that there wouldn't be an acceptable level of certain things in the oil delivered that they would be able to reject it if it's outside of those parameters.
Well, absolutely. They totally rejected it in February. Within days after receiving the shipment in January, they reported to the company, and I have the emails to confirm it, that please don't send us any more of this dirty fuel. And they specifically said it's because of the high presence of aluminum and silicon.
But they still use that oil, is my point. They didn't say this is unacceptable and we're not incurring the extra cost.
Listen, Pete. Here we are in the dead of winter in January with a raging storm at minus 25 degrees. We had no choice but to take the fuel. We had to marshal every piece of labor we could to keep the filters clean, to keep the oil moving, to try and get it through, because if we didn't, there wouldn't be rolling blackouts. There would be a total blackout on the Avalon Peninsula. Okay. And we would have been in a terrible shape. And we were the luckiest people on earth that we didn't lose 3 generators instead of 1.
Okay, Danny, listen, I appreciate this. We're going to hear, no doubt, from Hydro again. This has only begun, perhaps, but I got to move along right now. Let's talk again soon.
Anytime, Pete.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.